A couple sides and totals on the same game. Cubs Pittsburgh early game, Cubs plus 140, Cubs plus 130, Cubs plus 120, and the over 7.5. And then in the Minnesota Cleveland, same situation. Cleveland at plus 105, all the way up to minus 110. So plus 105, even money, minus 105, all the way to minus 110 on Minnesota, forgive me. And the over 8.5, and now over 9. So Minnesota and the over, and last but not least, St. Louis, Cincinnati. St. Louis at plus 110, plus 105, even money, up to minus 105, and also the same situation, over 8.5 and over 9. So it's Cubs and over, Minnesota and over, St. Louis and over. Those are the three sides, three totals that stick out the most as far as being in multiple accounts. The team in the Knicks position usually win this game. Hasn't been a big sample size, though. As far as leaning on how they've done historically. As far as the betting action, good two-way action on the side, but one-way action on the under. Like the heavy public money on this under. They're betting this game tonight heavily. Like it's sticking out a lot. And you're seeing the total doesn't reflect that. I'm even seeing it a half point above the 213. So even though a bunch of under money's coming in, it's not being respected at all by the books. It's the second game that sticks out the most. That's the one that they're going to have a lot of exposure on because of the one-way action on Denver. Nothing from the betting syndicates, nothing on the side, nothing on the total from either game. But right. Denver's being bet so heavily. I mean, one-sided action. They're betting Denver money line, thinking they don't need the 6 points. They're betting Denver plus the 6 points. They're teasing Denver up to like plus 10.5 or 11. So they really, really, really like Denver. Books are going to be all over that Clippers side, needing the Clippers to get it done tonight. Like that's one of the heaviest one-sided NBA games I've seen in a couple days, where it's just like everybody's on the same side. But that team in that spot has not done well. In fact, the team in the Clippers situation has been able to get it done and tie the series up 3-3 more times than not. In fact, it's another small sample size. Historically, it hasn't gone down this way. Win, loss, win for the team that's home. But in this game 6, the team down usually has extended it. Yeah. And I think that's why you're looking at a 6-point spread. I don't think it's as much as the books making it like, oh, they need to win this or they're out of the playoffs. If anything, I think it's being discounted because the opener was 7. And it's been, like I said, one-sided public money forcing it down to 6. Be careful with that. I actually like the Clippers myself. I thought this is a good game for them to come out and get a nice win and extend it to 7 games. But that's just my opinion. I haven't bet it yet, but if it drops to like below 6, I'm betting it. I like the Clippers.
We need the Pistons pretty big on the spread. That being said, Knicks is a good winner for us in the series price. So, you know, it's one of those. I mean, we wouldn't mind if the Pistons win tonight, but as long as the Knicks wrap it up before the series ends, that's great. We took some sharp on Knicks plus 2.5 and over 212 on that. And the other game, most of the bets are on the Nuggets. Most of the cash is on Clippers. However, sharp is on the Nuggets at plus 7 and plus 8 and over 211.
Yeah, well, that's why neither the 2.5 for the Knicks is available nor the 8 in the Denver game. What do you got for us on the Kentucky Derby coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, man. The bettors are, let's see. Well, first of all, we have odds in 2 places. We'll have odds in 2 places. We have it in the race book, which is the more traditional horse odds, you know, the exactas, trifectas. And again, I always have to remind players every year because the Kentucky Derby brings out a lot of novice horse bettors, and they think they're betting the price. They're getting the price they bet it at, but they don't realize, no, they're getting the closing odds. And again, that's in the race book, but we also have the fixed odds within the sports book. So if you're looking at that kind of betting, you know, I want to bet American Promise at 16-1, you're going to get that in the sports book. So right now, bet count, American Promise is getting the most bets, 16-1. Journalism plus 275. Sandman plus 750. As far as liabilities are concerned, Render Judgments, our biggest liability, 40-1. Then American Promise and Sandman. To win the Triple Crown, that's always the most popular bet. Prop bet. Yes is 10-1. No is minus 2,500. As usual, everybody's on the yes, taking those lottery tickets. That's usual winner for us, but when they're the Triple Crown winner, we it beats us up a little bit. So we're always rooting for a horse to win the first two legs. That way, the Belmont has a lot of juice and a lot of action, but that horse falling short in the Belmont.
One of the things I mentioned about this game was that low point spread, Perez, and I completely agree. If you're going to play the Pistons, you're laying the 1.5. If you're going to play the Knicks, you're probably looking to definitely play it on the money line, plus 110-ish. This line was 2 yesterday when I did the video. It has come down to 1.5 now, so the money line a little bit lower. But one of the things I pointed out was that the straight-up winner is now 9-0 against the spread this year. These teams have played 9 times going back to the start of the regular season in early November, and the straight-up winner has gone 9-0 against the spread. And that's with some bigger spreads in this. So definitely don't see a situation where you take the Knicks if you don't think they can win outright. Knicks, I do think, closed the series out here. It's 3-2. They could have closed it out at home on Tuesday night with a 3-1 lead. They did not do so. They missed 11 free throws. That was really the difference in that game. From the free throw line, Detroit was plus 10, plus 11, I believe. New York had the edge from 2- and 3-point range. So as long as the free throws are somewhat equal, I think the Knicks get the series tonight in Detroit. And a couple player props we'll look at, as I mentioned. One thing I like to do is we talk about the zigzag with sides and totals. I like using the zigzag with player props as well in these 7-game series and look for a guy that maybe underachieved or overachieved in the previous game. And what I'm looking for is extreme shooting one way or the other. Maybe making all the shots but few minutes. We look to play the under, or we look to play the over at the guy that's due to break out again. Since I think the Knicks will show up off the loss tonight, we're going to look for some New York player props over. And we always start, of course, with Jalen Brunson, who I think is one of the best players in the league. Brunson scored 30 points or more in each of the first 4 playoff games. He did finally regress, though, in game number 5 the other night with just 16 points, but he was 4 for 16 shooting. He got to the free throw line 10 times. He was only 1 for 4 from 3. 28.5 has been his point total the last few games. Once again, he had 30 or more every game until the last one. I look for him to bounce back with a strong showing. His ankle's a little banged up, but it seems like he's always injured, so I'm not too worried. He'll go tonight. And the other guy that's the star player on this team is Karl Anthony Towns. He also had an off game with just 17 points, but he took 14 shot attempts. So once again, Brunson and Towns had 30 shot attempts from the field. They only made 9. I expect them both to play better tonight. So we'll take a look at some overs. And then the other side of the coin, maybe a Detroit player to go under. Asar Thompson, breakout game the other night, 22 points. He had single digits before that, 10 or less every other game. He's priced around 10, 10.5. Asar Thompson, I think, regresses. He had 22 points, but he was 8 for 10 shooting. You can't shoot any better than that. And he didn't play a lot of minutes, only played 29 minutes. So Thompson under for Detroit, Brunson and Towns over for the Knicks. When I did the video yesterday, this line was 6.5, and I felt like the sharper books were leaning that way, even at 6.5. As you mentioned, it's now 6s, but you look at BetOnline, it's 6 minus 12. Another sharp offshore is 6.5. So once again, I get a feeling this might be a little bit of a public square divide. So definitely ask Dave about that. Be interesting to hear his take on that. I like the Clippers in this game to extend the series. This is do or die for the LA Clippers. They're down 3-2, and they were embarrassed the other night on Tuesday. Denver led by 22 in that game, coasted to a 16-point win. I think the Clippers are the better team, and obviously 6.5-point line says the odds makers feel that way. So the better team off a blowout loss is a zigzag angle I like to use. I think it also correlates with the under here, 212. And we've seen some movement on this line. It was 212 yesterday. Now it's starting to go a little higher, 212.5 in some spots. Others still have 212. I'm not big on parlays. I think in general you should play games straight up individual bets. That's what my clients use for our best bet service. But the one time you can say a parlay maybe has an advantage is if a sided total are correlated. And I do think the under is correlated to the Clippers in this game. So if you like LA to bounce back and force a game 7, you got to figure they're going to play pretty good defense. That would get me on the team total Nuggets under as well. Nuggets team total under around 102.5 would make sense. And as far as some player props, by the way, the Clippers did not lose a game in April until the game 1 loss in overtime in this series. And over the final 15 games of the regular season, they had the best net rating in the NBA, ahead of OKC and Boston. They were the number 1 offense and the number 3 defense over the final 15 games of the regular season. So I do think the Clippers are a really good team right now with their backs against the wall. And another thing I'll point out is I know the line looks big, right? 6.5. And I think that's why the public is probably on the Nuggets. But here again, just like the Detroit-New York series, if you pick the straight-up winner, you get the point spread winner. In fact, these teams also played 9 times this year, and the straight-up winner has gone 8-1 against the spread. The only time the straight-up winner didn't cover was the overtime game 1 when the Nuggets won by 2, laying 3. And that game, in regulation, it was a tie. So once again, 8-1 ATS if you pick the straight-up winner in this series. So don't let the big numbers scare you. I think the Clippers force a game 7 tonight. And as far as some player props in this one, never looking to fade Jokic. We don't fade superstars in the NBA playoffs. So even though I do think Nuggets team total is worth a look to the under, be careful with Jokic because he actually didn't have a very good points game. Another triple-double, by the way. He's had a triple-double in every game but 2. And he got there with, I believe, what was it, like 16 points? No, 13 points. And he still had triple-double. And he missed the other triple-doubles by 1 or 2 each game. Somebody that might regress a little bit here is Christian Braun. I actually liked him for some over props recently. I think he was around 6.5. The last game, he put up 11 points. I mentioned him in the video. That was a free winner for everybody. Be careful with Braun now, though. He was 5 for 8 shooting. Can't shoot much better than that. Michael Porter Jr., though, is the guy I think is going to regress tonight. 5 for 10 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3 in that last game, 14 points in 37 minutes. I look for him to regress. He's had a couple over games, barely. I look for Porter Jr. to go under tonight and the Nugget team total to stay under as well. Not
sure if Mike Trout's going to be in this game. He was pulled from yesterday's game. So he said he's fine, but we all know Mike Trout. He's a walking pulled hammy. So I don't know if he's even going to play in this game. Kikuchi was their big addition for the Angels, but he's not performing very well. I have him ranked 18th out of 30. I curve my starting pitchers. I know there's like 200 of them, but I curve it on 30 so I can compare it with the bullpens and the hitters. He's got a horrible walks to strikeout ratio. It's over 70%, and 20 to 30% is where you want to be with that. Casey Mize falls right in there. He's right at 30 with his walks to strike ratio. Detroit has the better bats. Actually, the Angels rank dead last in hitting in current form included in all of Major League Baseball. And starting pitching there's no comparison. Casey Mize is a much better pitcher than Kikuchi. It concerns me that they're on the road, but I still like the Tigers -1 in this one. I'm going to do another -1. Hitting as well. Detroit's been average, but the Angels are dead last in hitting. So I feel pretty comfortable taking the Tigers and Casey Mize. Last time I took Casey Mize, I cashed it. He crushed the Orioles, which is not saying much given the Orioles' current form, but Angels not much better than the Orioles, in my opinion. So I'm going with the Tigers in this one, -1.
I mean, I'm sort of seeing the same thing as well. I think Justin Verlander, he's going to settle down for San Francisco here and get the better of his inconsistent counterpart, Kyle Freeland. The Rockies, they're just 1-14 on the road this year. The Giants, they're 9-4 at home, and they're going to be really hungry to return to form here. They're coming off the 2 divisional losses at San Diego earlier this week. Freeland, he's 0-4 with a 5.93 ERA. Verlander, he's 0-2 with a 4.70 ERA. So nothing to write home about with either of these guys. But they're coming off completely different performances. Freeland, he was shelled for 6 runs off 10 hits in a loss to the Reds in his last outing. Verlander, he took a hard luck loss in his last outing. He gave up 2 runs and he had 5 strikeouts over 6 innings against the Pirates. And so I think for me, baseball, I bet a lot to do with the starting pitchers. This is a great situational play as well. I just think because San Francisco off those 2 losses there, they're not going to be taking anything for granted here. And so I think when you take into account the recent form of these 2 guys, the fact that the Giants lost those 2 divisional games, that San Francisco is not only going to win this game, but it's going to do so in blowout fashion.
We got Gaston Bolanos. He is minus 140 on the comeback here. We have Kwang Lee plus 120. Now, this kind of feels like a little bit of an overreaction to the market, as you have Bolanos opened up at minus 220 and money has consistently come in. And I think the market is really seeing a perceived path here for Kwang Lee, which is wrestling. And you know what? He's going to look for wrestling. He's going to look to push that pace. He's going to look to do all those things. My issue here is the fact that he's not very good at wrestling, you know, and not only that, but when he shoots, he doesn't really find much success. And there's a lot of times he just doesn't shoot at all. And the first two UFC fights that he had, first one was against Chris Gutierrez. Gutierrez was able to really push off a lot of the takedowns. Lee was only 2 for 11 on takedown attempts. And even his most recent fight against Xiao Long, he only shot 2 takedowns. Now, for Bolanos on the other side here, he is a striker primarily, but he's really going to be looking to continue to elevate his takedown defense. And he has done that. Even his most recent fight, he was able to kind of create space, have good scrambles, show good get-ups, and also have the ability to just get back to his feet. And he's going to have the physicality and strength advantage here in this spot, where I really just think that's going to help him in the clinch, up against the fence, and create that space. And when this fight plays out on the feet, you know, Bolanos is just a massive, better striker compared to Lee. He's going to be able to move forward, have the better striking, have the crisper combinations, the bigger, harder hitter between the two, has fantastic Muay Thai, and just is going to land the crisper shots. And plus, most recently for Lee, you know, he just lost to a worse striker in Xiao Long, where he got knocked out. So I think this is a spot where over the first 2 fights, you've seen a negative striking differential for Lee. I think that you're going to have Bolanos landing big shots, looking for that shot to actually probably put him out. But I think that we're getting a discount here. Minus 220 was probably more of the true odds. I think that minus 140 is good value here in this spot. Series City, he is minus 130. On the comeback here, we've got Cameron Smotherman plus 120. Now, I was really impressed by Smotherman's UFC debut. He came in on very short notice against Jake Hadley. And this was a fight where you had Smotherman, who closed as a plus 460 underdog and outperformed that number dramatically, dominated the striking, outlanded Jake Hadley 96-60. And that's really where I see this fight kind of going here. We've got Smotherman, who's going to have really solid striking overall, good boxing. He's got good footwork. He does have decent power with good volume. And that's kind of where I really see this kind of going. And the biggest thing here on the other side here for City is I was really not impressed with his most recent 2 fights in the UFC. And, you know, he had both split decisions, 1-1 over that span. And even his most recent fight against Garrett Armstrong was absolutely a fight that Garrett should have won the fight. He outlanded City, took him down 4 times, had 5 minutes of control time, and really pretty much controlled the action, but yet they gave it to City. So he probably should be 0-2 heading into this fight. And he's tall, he's lanky, but he's the kind of guy that just doesn't really understand how to use his range, how to use his length. And the guy in the main event, Corey Sandhagen, who really is long, lanky, but is great footwork, good front kicks, utilizes distance management. And that's really what City doesn't do. So I think this is a spot where Smotherman can smother him and move forward, have those good shots, have the good combinations, get inside that range, land the better shots. And I think that is really where you've got City, who is very hittable in the pocket, can be very sloppy. And that, again, inside the pocket is where he's going to be landing. So you also got to look at the last part here is the fact that City needs takedowns. You know, he is the better grappler, but he has an inability to get the fight to the ground. Over his first 2 UFC fights, he's 0-8 on takedowns. So I think this plays out on the feet. I think clearly the better striker is Smotherman. I think his boxing is going to really work inside the pocket. So at this price here at a plus money number, I like Smotherman to get the job done.